Welcome, travelers, to PA's Nightmare Wednesdays. As always, welcome to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant in my realm. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable, for when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
The day I met her was nothing special, or so it started that way. I had gone over to a friend's house for a little get-together. It was just a few friends to hang out and talk. Since I had locked myself in my house for the last few weeks, it was nice to get out for a little bit. Amber had broken my heart, and I just needed to get over her. Then she walked into the room. Her name was Vivian, and she looked how I always imagined the goddess Aphrodite to. She had on a tight red dress that looked like it was made for only her, hugging each curve in just the right way, her light brown hair framing her face to show off her bright gray eyes. They held an intense look to them. She had legs that just didn't seem to have an end to them. I knew the moment her eyes locked on mine, I would ask her out. After a bit of time, I walked up to this beauty, Vivian. It took me a little time to get into the groove of talking to her, but soon she was smiling and laughing. Her voice and laugh were music to my ears. How is someone like this even able to be real? I asked myself. It took me a little bit of time, but I asked her out to dinner, and she said yes. I took her to my favorite restaurant. It might look like a hole in the wall at first. She didn't seem to be sure. Once she tasted the food, she understood why I picked this place. The food was always so good, and though it looked run down, it was well taken care of. We talked, and I learned she was a lawyer. A goddess like her could truly make anyone agree with her, I thought. We headed into the park after dinner to talk. I put my hand on her hip, and she didn't stop me. With a soft smile on her face as she looked at me. "Kiss me," she commanded, and I did as she told me. The kiss was like nothing before. It was like fireworks going off in my head. I felt nothing like this before. After what felt like a lifetime, she pulled her lips from mine, telling me it was time to head home. I shook my head but nodded. A few weeks passed by. I'd gone to her house a few times, but we only made out. I was growing more and more impatient each day. How could she keep pushing me away? How could she not desire me as much as I did her? So I decided one night I would finally just sneak into her house and show her how much I needed her. Last time I was over, I had unlocked a window in the basement, and I used that to get in. She had said that she never really went down there. It was dark down here, but there was enough so I could see. I stopped dead when I heard footsteps above me. But it wasn't her soft ones. It was heavier. Was she cheating on me? Was she with another man before me? I felt my vision go red as I walked into the bookcase. A book fell off and hit the ground. "Shit," I said quietly as I walked to pick it up. Upstairs, no one seemed to move towards the door that led downstairs. I let out a breath and moved to the book to pick it up. I had to stay calm if I was going to show her. The book had opened and spilled its contents. Photos had fallen out all over the ground. They were all different men, all their throats slashed and hanging over the bed. She stood there smiling her beautiful smile, with blood all over her face. I put the photos away into the book and looked at it. I knew what I needed to do. I headed upstairs, the book in hand. I headed to her bedroom. A naked man had been tied to her bed. She had left her door open, not expecting me. I pulled out my own knife. I needed to do something. Vivian hadn't noticed me at all. She was bent over, grabbing something, probably the bowl for this man's blood. He was blindfolded, and he couldn't see anything. "Vivian," I said with strength I didn't know I had. She looked up at me with those eyes. I held up the book. "I know what you're about to do." You do you? She said, pulling the bowl up, her soft voice. Planning to stop me then? I moved closer to the man, who was now pulling on his restraints. I moved the knife closer to him. No, Vivian, I desire to help you. With that, I slit his throat. She moved the bowl under the cut to collect his blood. I looked at her and smiled. I saw her smile, a true warm smile, as the blood drained from our sacrifice. I had found another demigod who understood blood kept us looking young and beautiful forever. Amber hadn't tasted as good as this man did. I had a friend in high school named Jack. He was very odd, even for a teenager. I remember him being so interested in pimples of all things. If you had one on your face, he had to pop it. No matter what you did, he'd be all over you to pop it. We all just put up with it. He was a really nice guy besides this, so we just let him pop our zits and go back to what we were doing. It was our last month of our final year in high school. We were talking over lunch about what we were wearing for prom and all of that when Jack walked up. He stopped dead and just stared at me. I knew this looked too well. I had a zit and he wanted to pop it. "Please, not today, Jack," I said. "But it'll only take a second," he responded as he moved closer to me. "No, really. Ouch!" I screamed and slapped his hand away. He reached out to touch my zit, and it hurt a lot just to be touched. I don't know how I hadn't realized it was there till this morning. It was a bad one, and it would have to wait. "Oh, I really should pop it if it hurts that much." His voice seemed a bit off. "No, Jack, stop. You only touched it, and it hurt that much. Just wait till tomorrow," I said, putting my hands between the zit and his eyes. Jack pressed his lips and tried to reach out again, but I got up and out of my chair. He just wouldn't look away from me, his eyes fixed on that zit that my hand hid. "You know what? Forget this." I grabbed my things and left the lunch area. Jack went to follow me, so I headed into the girls' washroom. I knew he wouldn't follow me in there. I looked in the mirror, and on my chin was a very red blemish. I touched it, and the pain was intense. This one was bad, the worst I've ever had. I stayed in the bathroom, texting with my friends, and asked another girl when she entered if Jack was still out there. He was. So I spent my whole lunch in that bathroom. Once the bell rang, I waited until it was already late before leaving. Jack was gone, but the way he was acting was so odd. I got in trouble with my teacher, but I just told them that I ate something that didn't agree with me. Since it wasn't normal for me to be late, the teacher let it slide. I also didn't have any classes with Jack, so I just beelined it to all my classes for the rest of the day to stay away from him. My parents were away for the weekend, some kind of business thing, so I was home alone. I made myself something to eat, watched YouTube before heading to bed. I hadn't been feeling great all week, so I just wanted to rest and see if it helped. In the middle of the night, I woke up hearing my front door. I had always been a light sleeper. I heard soft footsteps downstairs. They moved to the steps and headed up them. I won't lie, it took me longer than it should have to figure out that this was bad. I was never into scary movies or anything. As the footsteps moved up the stairs, I got out of my bed and silently looked around my room. I didn't have anything in it that I could use as a weapon. So I grabbed my phone off the stand and got into my closet, shutting it just before the bedroom door opens. I really couldn't see much through the slits in the middle of the door. The person huffed as they entered my room. I could hear them looking around and stopped at my bed. I could see a figure in all black. They moved around my bed, looking around, careful not to step on anything. I lost sight of them as they headed to my door. I held my phone close to my chest. My phone started to ring. I tried to turn it off, but before I did, I saw Jack's name show up on my screen. Damn him for calling me at this time. My closet door opened, and the man grabbed me and pushed me onto my desk chair. I tried to get up, but they punched me in the stomach, knocking the wind right out of me. All the fighting me, gone for that instant as they put handcuffs on my arms behind the chair and then some on my legs. When I tried to move again, they just punched me in the stomach once more and used rope to bind the two handcuffs together so there's no way I could move or get away. I called the cops. They're on their way. I yelled as best as I could at the figure. Hey man, I guess at this point. No, you didn't. They said back to me with a voice I knew. They took off their mask, and you guessed it, it was Jack. Jack stood there, an odd smile on his face, like a kid getting something they had been asking for months. Plus, even if you had, it won't stop me. He moved closer to me. What the hell, Jack? I tried to move back, but the clothing around my chair stopped me from rolling, and I finally couldn't move. Just hold still, and this will be over soon. He reached out to my face and touched my zit. The pain was so intense. Was he really here because I wouldn't let him pop my zit? He started to push on it, and I screamed in pain. After a few seconds, pain faded as my zit popped. He let out a sigh of relief. That's better. Now, your beautiful face isn't ruined by such a terrible zit, he said with a smile. Well, you can go now. Jack's face twisted for a moment. Why would I do that? I finally can have you all to myself. Before I could say anything, he put a rag over my face. All I could remember before passing out was him saying, I finally have you, and I'll make sure your face is always perfect. Tonight's stories, Beautiful Monster and My Friend Was Odd, were written by the talented 242 Reads. If you enjoyed these stories, please do check out her channel, as she is a terrific narrator and a fantastic author, and also a very good friend of this channel. The responses from last week's word are on the screen now. This week's word is particular. The definition is the use to single out an individual member of a specific group or class. Also, did you know I have merch? Crazy, right? But if you would like to walk around representing my realm and gaining new travelers, the link to my merch store will be in the description below. As always, I want to give a big thank you to my lovely Patreons. 242 Reads, Pam, Seraphine, the Midnight Bard, Creepy Clown Girl, Mina, Philionoctus, Hair Raising Narratives, and Spooky Boo Scary Story Time. If you'd like to join these lovely travelers by the light of my fire, you can do so by becoming a Patreon as well. The support is always appreciated but never expected. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ding that bell if you're new, as it will really help push this video into the algorithm and it helps the channel grow.
But as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.